How you doing?
Hi, how you doing, Mr. McKoy? My
Good.
name is Jeannie Joy. I'm doing the Voice in Action project,
Okay.
and I'm here with my colleague, Mr. Brandon King,
Okay.
and we want to take the opportunity to interview for East Cleveland documentary.
Okay.
And we wanted to start off by saying your name and what you're affiliated with. Today is Tuesday, July the 17th, 2012. We're here at the Solar Building with Mr. Art McKoy, and we'll be interviewing you today. And I'm looking forward to it. It'll bring me great joy. So, can you just start off saying your full name, the affiliation that you're with, and a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, let me say that it's a pleasure to be here with you, Joy, and you, Mr. King, in your beautiful office, your beautiful building. My name is Art McKoy. I've been in East Cleveland for quite a while. For many years, I've owned SuperFly Barbershop, 1 and 2, and I've been a long, active 40-year member of Black on Black Crime Inc.
Okay, that's great. And with Black on Crime Inc., correct? Black on Black.
Yeah, Black on
Crime
Black Crime Inc.
Inc.
That's right.
And they've been around for 40 years?
Yes, it has.
Oh, wow. I just want to start off with my first question is, tell us about yourself and the history of your family.
Well, most people think that I am a city boy, but the fact of the matter is I'm not. I'm a country boy. I'm from a little town called Garland, North Carolina.
Okay.
And uh, I was raised on a farm, a large farm that my mother attended to herself.
Okay. So how many was in your family?
Originally it was 4.
Okay. And you were what sibling you fall under?
I was the baby.
Okay.
It was 2 boys, 2 girls. I was the baby.
And what brings you to the greater Cleveland, East Cleveland area?
Well, my mother passed when I was 9, and as I said before, her and my father were separated. He lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and so when she passed and left us on the big farm by ourselves, us kids, one day my father came and got me from North Carolina and brought me to Cleveland, Ohio. I'll never forget the day he brought me here because I was on a blueberry farm picking blueberries. And when they called my name that my father had came to get me from North Carolina and bring me to Cleveland, I was very sad. I cried all the way to Cleveland. I probably broke a record.
What year was this, guesstimate?
This was probably in 59.
Around 59,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So you were still young at that time.
Absolutely.
And so you came up here with whom? Your father and?
I came up here with my father, Norman Aquila McKoy. That was his name. I came up here with my father and his wife, who became my stepmother.
Okay. And out of your siblings, you was the only one that came?
No, I was the first one to
The
come.
first one that came?
Yes,
Okay.
I was the youngest and the first one to come.
What was your first experience? Was East Cleveland the area that you all
No,
migrated
no,
to?
when I came to Cleveland, I came on 115th and Orville. That's near Superior. That's between Superior and Ashbury.
Okay.
And my first experience was the fact that in North Carolina, we very seldom saw snow, and if we saw snow, it was we made ice cream with it. We thought it was fun, but to be in the Arctic of Cleveland, Ohio, it was quite an experience. I almost froze to death.
And with you being a young child and being the first one to come, did you have any neighbors around your age group that tell you, give you the up-to-date information that you needed about snow?
Yes, eventually, you know, you meet friends and people, but for the first um, 6 months in Cleveland, I was heartbroken. I was homesick.
You was
Yeah.
homesick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you say what was your first encounter with someone your age group or family that embraced you outside of your father and his wife, his stepmom?
Yes, well, at that time we were living in an apartment building on 115th Street,
Okay.
and so there were younger people that were around. There was a playground right across the street,
Okay.
so there was younger people around that I got to meet. But my best embracing came from my aunt and her children. They were my age, and they lived on Kinsman. So my treat was to be able to get over on Kinsman and be with them.
Okay. And with you, so you were still like a youngster, and that was just your first experience on the move going to the Kinsman area. Was that a good experience for you?
Yes, because I was there with my aunt and her children, and they treated me raw. So yes, it was a great experience. We had a chance to go up to the park, Lukister Park, and so yes, it was much fun going over there.
Okay. And another thing with your family being from the South and coming up north, was it a big difference in the families? Meaning how the food or the hugs or the kids, were there any big difference you noticed?
Absolutely. Down south, it was more laid back, more friendly, like more or less crimeless. But when I came up here, especially living close to a playground, I began to see the city side of life, which was a little bit more rough, a little bit more tougher, and either a country boy had to adjust and learn or fall by the wayside.
Fall by the wayside. Let me lead it to my next question. Can you think back to your earliest memories of East Cleveland and tell me what life was like there?
Well, my first memories of East Cleveland was from me living in Cleveland and having some friends and having to come to East Cleveland sometime. So my first memories of East Cleveland was one of how do I say it, of caution. You don't go to East Cleveland. You don't go to East Cleveland unless you go in there for a reason, because some things can happen to you as far as the police-wise and otherwise.
Did someone tell you that? You just felt that?
Well, I hadn't had a personal experience, but I had people that have had personal experiences, and that was just the norm that it was best to ride around East Cleveland than to go through it. It was just the norm,
That was the talk of the...
Yeah, that was the norm. I didn't have a personal experience where I was arrested or anything, but that was just the norm. That was from the outside of East Cleveland. Once my sister started living in East Cleveland, and when she started living in East Cleveland, this was like in the late 70s, early 80s. It was amazing because East Cleveland, the apartment she lived in, you just couldn't get in those apartments without all kind of credentials and being able to satisfy the landlord. So and at that particular time, I would say that it was at least 60-70% white at that
time in the 70s, right? Correct. And when you mentioned, so that was your first lead in to East Cleveland through your sister?
Yeah, through a relative, yes, and my father bought a house out here in East Cleveland, and so it was more or less on a visitor's basis.
Oh, okay, okay. And with you being here in East Cleveland and having more family here, were you brought in as an adult, or you still was a child when you?
No, when I came into East Cleveland to live to stay, I was a young adult.
Okay.
I would say 19, 20, you know, that age. Yeah.
Okay. So you just started to get into adulthood.
Yes.
Did you ever have a place of your own in East Cleveland?
Yes, I had several places of my own, but not as a youngster.
Okay.
You know, not in my teens. You know, later on.
Later on. So you knew a little sense of East Cleveland growing up as a youngster, and then your family members was here, and then you just start to grow and develop in East Cleveland. So were at one point you decided to make this where you wanted to have your roots?
No, I can't really say that I wanted to make East Cleveland my roots. What I can say that got me interconnected with East Cleveland was in the late 70s, 79, 80, I decided to open up a business in East Cleveland. And at that time I had a shop on Euclid Avenue, SuperFly Barbershop on Euclid Avenue, and 105. And I wanted to expand the business, and I thought of coming to East Cleveland. And at that time, by my sister living on Page Avenue, at that time that area was really built up with businesses, and it was a nice area. And I remember we used to go into the Crystal restaurant and eat and so forth. And so I knew. By me looking at the area like it was, I thought that would be a good area to put a barbershop. So that's where I put my second shop at, there on Page Avenue in East Cleveland. That was the beginning of me really becoming entrenched in East Cleveland.
Okay. Well, how was business? How was life for you back when you opened up your first or second shop? What was that transition like? Were both of them open at the same time, or were they separated?
No. My shop on 105 in Euclid, I had been there for 5 or 6 years before I came out to East Cleveland, and it was an altogether different flavor from 105 in Euclid. If you know anything about 105 in Euclid in the 70s, Winston Willis and the theaters, Scrumpty Dump, and all of that. If you know anything about that, coming to East Cleveland was a whole different flavor. Because in East Cleveland, in the building that I came to work at, there was an exotic pet store right next to my business. A foreign lady had it. And they had all kind of exotic birds and stuff like that. And on the other side of me was a nice delicatessen. And on the other side, some Jewish people had a fish market or something. So at that time, as I said, when I came to East Cleveland to open my business, it was still a great influx of other nationalities in East Cleveland at that time. As a matter of fact, I remember even then, one thing that we learned was not say, don't get in no trouble because you're going to have to go before Judge what was his name? Judge Adams. Uh, he was the white judge in East Cleveland who ruled East Cleveland. He ruled it, and he ruled it with an iron fist.
Okay.
And so there was no laundering or the culture was altogether different at that time. It was really ran strictly.
And with your business that you mentioned, your second business,
Yes.
was in East Cleveland. Was it easy for you to open up a business there with a different culture? Was that an easy transition?
Yes, it was, because when you're young, you're adventurous and you think you can do anything, and you can go any place. And I had already strategized the area and knew that it was a nice business area, you know, for walk-in and that kind of trade. So I blended in real good with that area, and it went good.
People were good and welcoming to you. How was business then?
Business was good.
Business was good.
Yes.
Okay.
You know.
And I just lightweight remember 105 area. That was like going to New York. That was the big place.
Absolutely.
To do,
Absolutely.
For African American people.
Absolutely.
That transition. And when you mentioned concerning business in East Cleveland that time of year, how many employees did you have?
At that time, at that shop, I had 6 employees.
6 employees. So that was good for you.
Yes, I'll never forget. As I said, when you're young and radical, you think you can do almost anything.
Yeah.
So I remember when we opened up the shop, there was a young lady named Fox. We call her Fox, okay? And I remember when we opened up the shop, and we had like the front chair was like elevated in the window.
Okay.
And Fox used to have like to wear foxy shorts, you know what I mean? And so she'd be up in the window cutting hair, and you know, brought quite a lot of attention, you know.
Okay.
And I remember one day the East Cleveland police came in and said, "Hey, she got to put a little bit more clothes on in that window, you know." And you know, it was all in, you know, nothing critical, you know, but you know, that's the way it went. We were there in East Cleveland, you know.
Is there any businesses now that's up and vibrant like your business? Anyone that you would say today?
In that area?
Correct.
No. Ella's Deli was on the corner. She sold the best corned beef. She's gone. The fish market is gone. Everything that was on that corner is gone, including the building. So, and then Crystal Restaurant, which was a mainstay. People came from all over town to eat at Crystal Restaurant. It used to stay open all night. It was ran by an Irish gentleman. That's been long gone. There was an ambulance company across the street, over apartment building with all kind of bars and stores. That's gone. Matter of fact, that caught on fire. That's gone. So when I look at it, there isn't much from the old days in that area. Even the YWCA was there, and now it's a church. It's a daycare now. So and that was one of the mainstays in that area. Oh, there is something still there, but it's owned by somebody else. McKoy's motel is right there, still on the corner of Lee and Euclid. But at the time, it was owned by a black businessman named Bobby McKoy, who had a penchant for flying airplanes. And so he would have these little helicopter type airplanes. We call them matchboxes.
Okay.
But he would go up and fly out of town and so forth. But one evening he came in and he forgot to let the wheels down on that matchbox, and he crashed and died. And so since that time, his sons weren't able to take it over. So since that time, it's been in the hand of other nationalities that run it. But that's a part of history. McKoy, that's why it's called McKoy's Motel.
And he was an African American?
He was African American. Great businessman. Great businessman. Had 4 or 5 bars. He was a great businessman, had a great head on his shoulder.
But his family members just didn't take it over.
You know, that's the problem with black businesses. You know, that's why I admire the King family, that they were able to continue the tradition of their father. You know, that's
awesome.
you know, that's why black businesses are where they are today, because the younger generation aren't able to step in
Right.
and take it over and run it. And so that's what happened to Bobby McCall.
And with you mentioning that the McCall family, and it's an honor that your parents started something and you can continue it. That's definitely an honor. But then you have to mention too, they have to be educated in school and have the mindset to carry it on. It has to be a carried on type of business that they can hand it down. Or you want to have a desire to pick it up.
Well, I think, of course, education plays a big part in everything, but I think that the desire plays more part than education, because I'll tell you why. Because you have foreigners that come over here and they can't speak English. They might not be able to read and write that good, but they can count, and so they can carry on the tradition of business. And to show you what I mean by desire, when I moved from across the street on Page Avenue, and I moved on the other side of the street and continued the SuperFly Barbershop, there was a man over there by the name of Mr. Hodge. Mr. Hodge, once this ambulance company left and the Jews left this building, which had caught on fire at the top,
Okay.
but the bottom was still fine. Mr. Hodge was a construction man.
Okay.
And Mr. Hodge was able to take this building, which still remains right there on between Page and Wymore, and he was able to take this building, tear the top off, and continue with about 10 or 12 stores in that building. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that Mr. Hodge could not read or write. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You understand? But he was able to he was a heck of a construction guy, and he was able to build his own home, have this great store building, and go on and on. So what I'm saying to you is that there were many people that migrated from the South, and other people who were able to construct and carry on multi-million-dollar businesses,
Right.
and could not read or write, but they could count. Yeah. So therefore, I'm saying to you that it's not absolutely necessary that you have the tools of education to carry on a business if you have the desire and the wit to do so. Right. But most of our generational blacks, they don't have the desire. Mr. King could have very easily said with his handsome self, "Man, I don't want to be in the chemical business. I want to do this. I want to do this." You understand? That was my daddy thing, but he carried on the tradition. Correct. So that's what happened to a lot of black business. For instance, there were plenty black cleaners in cleaning businesses in the East Cleveland area. We just deal with East Cleveland, all right? Once the people that owned those businesses got too old, instead of their children stepping in, one of their children at least said, "Hey, I'm gonna run this cleaning business. I'm gonna take it to another level." It didn't happen, and I'll give you a good example, and then I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna give you a good example. Right on Knowles and Euclid, there was this cleaner. It's still there. Right on Knowles and Euclid, right across the street from Windermere. Okay. And there was this minister, black minister, that used to have this cleaners and made nice money at this cleaners for years and years. Then he got older and he didn't have any children that wanted to step in, so he wound up selling his business to another nationality, okay. A Korean man, for say if he sold it for $100,000. Okay. Just to give an example. All right. I witnessed this so many times with my own eyes that within a year or two times, the $100,000 was gone, and he had to come back and wound up working on Knowles at his own cleaners with, and then he finally moved on. But you know, I'm just giving you some examples of you know.
And why did you name your barbershop SuperFly
Very,
Barbershop?
very interesting. You're asking some exciting questions here. When I was when I got out of the Army, I used to work for a barbershop called New York Barbershop.
New York Barbershop.
Eddie Frost and Ella Frost. This was back in the day, and I mean they had a great reputation for barbershop. They had about 5 or 6 of them all across town. But anyway, when Eddie Frison decided to give up barbering, and he had a shop on 105 in Superior, he let me have that shop. And so at that time I was young. I just got out of the Army. I really wasn't ready for a shop, and I blew it, you know. But the next shop I had, right after that, I had a chance to go on 105 in Euclid. There was a shop there that used to be owned by the Nicoletti, who was an Italian who Shondo Burns used to come in and get his hair cut right there on 105 in Euclid, where Cleveland Clinic got all that stuff now. But when the Italians left out of that shop, I was able to go in that shop and get that shop. And at this time, like I said, I mentioned my friend Eddie Frison. Yes, Eddie Frison had moved on to New York. You know, Eddie Frison had moved on to the life. Let's put it like that. Okay. And so he said, "Art, you need to come up and see this movie about Scatterbrain and Cleveland. It's called SuperFly." Okay. He said, "Art, it's all about Cleveland, but it's premiering in New York." Yes. So he sent for me. I went up there with my lady. And he showed us a good time, and he took us to the premiere of SuperFly. Okay. And he said, "Man, now this is Scatterbrain, and this is about the drugs, and this is how I got killed, and this is about Cleveland." You know, Ron O'Neal, remember, from Cleveland, starring it. So anyway, so I'm sitting up in the movie. I didn't have a name for my shop.
You did not?
No, I didn't. I had it, but I didn't have a name. I said, "Uh-oh, my shop is going to be called SuperFly."
So it changed you.
It gave me a name, gave me a vision for a name. Okay. Came back to Cleveland, SuperFly. That was the beginning of SuperFly in, say, 1970, maybe 74, 75.
Was that name, of course everybody knew about the movie, was that a drawing?
Oh, absolutely. If you know anything, you're a little bit too young for this, you're Mr. King, but SuperFly was the thing. People started wearing their hair long with waves, and you know, the ladies wearing the minis, and it was just the era, you know. And so there was 2 shops that was really popular, the main 2 shops that was popular back in that day, the Tropicana Barbershop, they was the bomb. With Roland Somerville, he just died not too long ago, and SuperFly Barbershop on 105 in Euclid. At that time, that strip was full. Now, yeah, listen, there was SuperFly Barbershop, then there was Liz's Lounge, then there was the Cleveland Trust Bank, and then across the street, the Strump the Dumps Theater. Then Winston Willis had this mecca. You talking about gambling? He had this whole upstairs with nothing but gambling and slot machines and everything, and the police would try to get in there, and he had it all chained up. Wasn't why they got in there, but it was a whole mecca. It was 2 theaters in that area. So what I'm trying to say, it was perfect. SuperFly on 105 in Euclid. It just went well.
It was just wonderful.
Yeah.
And I can remember Bells, the red carpet.
I
remember going, but
you got it.
I was a little bitty.
I know you were. I know. And King wasn't even born then, so we'll leave him out. But yes.
I remember Bells on 105.
Absolutely.
And it used to be the red carpet.
That's right.
And that place was huge, and everybody knew it, and it was wonderful. And that's where the people would come after work and just have a good Holy Ghost good time.
Yes, that's correct.
And Cleveland Clinic brought them out.
Yeah, that's right. Cleveland Clinic took it all away.
Took it all away. But that was the place to be on 105. That was bigger than downtown.
Yes, it was.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But also I wanted to lead into our next question is, what are your fondest memory of East Cleveland?
That's a good question. My fondest memory of East Cleveland. That is a good question. My fondest memory of East Cleveland.
what would you say would be your legacy? What would you say that's something that was just awesome to you that happened to you? Or a memory that you would say? It's prime time now.
My fondest memory. There are so many memories, and you asked me to pick out my fondest memory. No, I'm really trying to think about that. I guess my fondest memory of East Cleveland would have to be that I was able to start a business in East Cleveland, and I was able to maintain that business in spite of all odds for practically 30 years.
For 30 years.
And it was an honor to some people, because many businesses many people that were more educated than me, that you know, was just more ready than me, their businesses went by the wayside. But my business, SuperFly Barbershop, stood strong on Euclid Avenue for over 30 years, and while we are there, while we're right there,
Yes,
maybe I can answer one of your other questions.
please do.
My worst memory was when the police came to my over 30-year business, handcuffed me, shut my business down, boarded up my windows, and said drug free. What
year was this?
This was what is this, 12? This was, I'd say 2006, 2007, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, about 2006.
At least
7.
2006.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what you just mentioned, that series, was that all done in one day?
What?
They came in and did everything that was in order?
Well, you know, it was, listen, it was done. Here's what makes it really your worst memory.
Yes.
Because it was done on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
So you never forget about a Christmas Eve. So it was done on Christmas Eve, and yes, it was done on the 24th of 24th of December. The next day would be Christmas, and you're talking about traumatized. You're talking about traumatized. That was a traumatic experience. So my best, since my barbershop really brought me to East Cleveland and made me an intricate part of it, that would have to be my fondest memory, because Joy, I'll tell you, in those 30 years, I trained so many young barbers to go on to their own shops and become entrepreneurs themselves. You know, it's just right in East Cleveland, right today. I could, you know, Kevin Denard, right down the street from KD's Barbershop. He was under my wing. Tunde, Hollywood Barbershop. All those people came right through SuperFly Barbershop. And so that has to be my fondest memory, along with the kids and parents. I raised, you know, kids came to my shop, and then they had a chance to grow up and have kids and bring them back to the shop. So that had to be my fondest memory. But I never thought that my worst memory would be that, what I just explained to you.
And when you mention your fondest memory, I notice and see that you have the passion for business. Did your business sense or business mind came from whom? Did you have a mentor?
Not so much. Okay, I didn't really have. Well, I take that back. My brother is the one that got me into barbering.
Okay.
All right. So he was my mentor, even though he didn't stay in it as long as I did. He went on to become another job. I'm trying to think of the name of the job he went to. But the whole thing is that's what make it even more phenomenal, because I really didn't have that much of a mentor. It was by trial and error that I was able to and hard work that I was able to succeed and keep it going.
When you mentioned about having a business position or business mind, do you think education helped?
Oh, absolutely. Listen. My father told me, Norman Aquila McKoy told me, he said, son, go out and get as much education as you can. You understand? You need it. I need to have much education as Brother King got. You need that education. You understand? And down south, you understand, they preach and practice education.
Yes,
you understand?
Sir.
That's the way to get yourself out of whatever you're in, education.
Yes, sir.
You understand? But the final thing my father told me, he said, Brother Art, he used to call me Arthur Lewis. He said, Arthur Lewis, there's no fool like an educated fool. So you get all the education you can, and please do. But the number one thing you need in business and in life is common sense.
Common sense.
Common sense.
Yes,
So I don't have the great degree of education that I should have, but along with the education that I have common sense, and that's what made me pursuing business. So that's what I'm leading to you with black businesses today. Compared to other nationalities' businesses. They might not have the best education. They might not be able to read or write that word, but they got common sense. They got common sense and know how to count that dollar. And I'll tell you something. This is my most important point I want to make to you. The key to black people in East Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
Let's deal with East Cleveland. The key to black people getting out of private in East Cleveland is through business. Business is the American way. As long as our dollars flow to other businesses who take our money to other places, and it never circulates in our community, we always be poor. I don't care what kind of programming we have or what we have. As long as our dollars, unless we're able to establish businesses like Brother King's business, all right, the chemical business, unless we're able to establish that business. And so if we spend $1 million with Brother King going to let so much flow in our community here till we're going to reap the benefits. But if we spend it with Ubade chemical company, he's going to take the money, he's going to take it to Lakewood or Palm or somewhere. It's never going to touch us. So we're going to forever be poor. So my message is that we have to open up more black businesses. We have to, otherwise our community will always starve.
And I do agree, because I was from a proud person from 40 from Quincy in the project, but I grew up in the project where everybody had their own businesses, and it's the dollar recycled itself over and over and over again, so it grew.
Yes.
But like you mentioned, and you really a firm believer, business is the only thing that's going to help us. We can have all the programs that come and go in the world, but you are a firm believer that business is the key.
Is the key. It's the American way.
And when you mentioned, if you can elaborate on it, and then that can lead me into my other question is, you mentioned common sense. What is your definition of common sense?
Common sense is very simple. You don't get it through a degree. You don't get it through. You've heard of mother wit.
Mother wit, yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes,
that's what common sense is.
Okay.
And your parents can give you common sense.
Okay.
You can get common sense just through common knowledge, but it's a different. I would say it's a sixth sense that you have along with your education.
Okay. And as you know of, and then we can move forward. People, we all can testify for this, may not have the education, and like you mentioned before, but they know how to run a business. They know how to count money. They know how to make things happen, because that's what it's about, making things happen.
Absolutely.
Making things happen. And my question is, in what ways has the city changed over time? It's a two-part question. And in what ways has the city changed over time? East Cleveland changed over time?
Okay, I'll tell you how it changed over time, which deals right with the fact, you need some water, which deals right with the fact that why the organization that I helped co-founded, Black on Black Crime Inc. At that time was the Black on Black Crime Committee started, because back in the day, when you all don't know nothing about this, but there was a day when the stores on Cedar and Euclid, you didn't have to have bars and gates up to the window. You could walk down the street. A pretty lady like you with your family could walk down the street and window shop and not worry about nobody knocking you in the head or anything like that. You could. The schools didn't have bars up to them or people searching them, guards. All this happened because of black on black crime. That's why when I was able to see this transition of this tranquility being broken, that's why black on black crime was formed by me and some other businessmen back in that time. Transcending that right to East Cleveland, the biggest change that happened in East Cleveland from the time I moved in here to now is crime. Black on black crime destroys a community. Why is that so? Because back in the day, you used to call a person and say, hey, brother, hey, sister, you understand? But then somewhere down the line, the OJs made a record that said, hey, don't call me brother, don't call me sister. You understand? Smile in my face and you stab me in the back. So what I'm saying, transcending that to East Cleveland, when I first came to East Cleveland, the community was much more safer. There wasn't all this crime. There wasn't all this black on black crime. So there was more trust and neighborly. Crime has a way of destroying so many things. It has a way of destroying the job market. It has a way of destroying the schools. It has a way of where you don't want to trust your neighbor, and it has a way of affecting your finances. So you take all these things combined. When the crime rate changed in East Cleveland, it really deteriorated the city a lot. That's one.
When did you start your foundation? What year was it?
Oh, it was like when I got out of the Army. I got out of the Army in 69. Yeah, 69 in the early 70s. Early 70s.
And it's still up and vibrant now. You're black on black crime.
Well, see, here's one thing you got to understand about, organizations, activists, people come and go. If it's not in your heart, then then it's not going to last. You can be up and rolling for a while, but if it's not in your heart, you're not going to endure for a long time. This is in my heart, God put this in my heart,
And you're the founder, is that correct?
I'm one. Yes, I am the founder that's still active in it. Yes.
So you're one of the co-founders.
Yes, I am.
Co-founders.
Yes, I am.
But like you mentioned, is it still the black on black crime? Is it still as vibrant as it was when you first started in around the late 60s?
Well, it is, but see, what you got to understand is that by me being with it all these years, I've came full circle, because I was naive when we started Black on Black Crime. Okay. I thought that it would go out. I thought that it would go out of business. Okay. I thought that the streets would become safer, and crime, the murder rate would go down, and everything would go back to where it was. Okay. But what as I come to full circle and realize as I get older that every time that we've made great impacts in getting the crime rate down and the murder rate down and things stable, the powers that be always have a force to come back and wreck it all over again because they don't want a black on black crime to stop. They don't want murders to stop. They don't want our community to get out of disarray. So they'll always come back with something. I'm gonna give you one example. In the 80s, in the late 70s, the murder rate was at a tremendous high in black on black crime. The reason that was because alcohol. Yeah, at that time, black folk was drinking and shooting and killing each other. But then we were able to and with the Saturday night special, then we were able to get them more on the conscious of this drinking and alcohol and shooting each other, and the murder rate went way down. At one time, it was like up to 300 in the mid 70s, and then we were able to get it all the way down to about 60 or so. And then by the early 80s, I said, wow, we finally gonna win this thing, and we're gonna be able to go out of business. Yes, which I was ready to go out of business. Yes, guess what happened?
What happened?
They put crack cocaine in our neighborhood.
And that was in what year?
In the early 80s. When they put in the mid 80s, when they put crack cocaine in our neighborhood, everything changed. So we had got the older people from killing each other and crime to go down. Then all of a sudden we got this influx of kids from 13 to 20, 25 killing each other. And so it makes me realize that the powers that be never want this struggle to end. And so and you see what they did for the next 20 years. Our community has been tore up and tore down, and includes East Cleveland. So this is the wisdom of being old. If I hadn't never got old, I wouldn't be able to tell y'all this. But this is the wisdom of being old to tell me that until we see what happens and this is in East Cleveland as well. What we have to realize is that history. Yes. The Jewish people say, yes. They say, if you forget about your history, yes, you lose everything. So therefore, the Jews say we will never forget about our history because the history is us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Black people, every 20 years, they forget about their history. Now you watch, you understand? And so we repeat the same thing over and over again. And I know that by me being older than you all. Yes, so until we get a grip on our history and be able to stop what's happening, just take for East Cleveland. If we just take our history, yes, in East Cleveland and study it and work with it, then we won't have to worry about making those same mistakes in East Cleveland that we made in the past. But if we just keep on making the same mistakes over and over again, it's just going to go further down and down.
That's why this is so important to do this documentary.
Yes.
So we can pass it along.
Yes.
And what you just said, and you spoke so passionately about it, to avoid that. And what you said is true to life. It's not anything that's a secret, but people need to know how to. That's what you mentioned, the common sense come in.
Yes.
Education not going to teach you that part.
Right.
That comes with common sense.
Right.
And that wisdom. And we just thank God that you're here to give this moment in time. Let me tell you one thing about education. And Brother King, with all his degrees, he knows how important it is. But you know, and the system know how important it is. But you know what happened? Yes, when the job market was beginning to drop, you know, black people used to work at Ford, Chevy, Jeannie, all that. Okay. You had great jobs. You didn't have to have the greatest education. All you had to have was common sense. Yes. Once those jobs started drying up, and the young black guys that was getting out of high school, yes, they was going to start a revolt. They was going to say, well, hey, I done finished high school, but I can't get no job, and so it's fixing to be a riot because they wanted to work and they didn't have no job. You know what they did? What they do? They put crack cocaine in the neighborhood. They substituted the desire for our young blacks getting out of school to want to work at GE Ford because they knew post office, they knew the job was drying up. Yes. So they put a false substitute, crack cocaine out there, and all of a sudden you hear the young guy saying, well, I don't know, I'm going to work at Ford for when I can make $500 a night on the street.
which was only all this was a conspiracy because those that knew, they knew that that was fake and that would only last for a minute, and it would wound those young people up who had such a desire to work and were willing to work to riot for a job. It calmed them down and it put them out here to kill one another, and in the end they knew what the end result would be, and that would be to put them in slavery through prisons and the justice system.
What is it developing now?
I'm telling y'all too much. We better cut this interview because
I love it. When we talk about history,
yeah,
we have to know the concept of it, and you here to bring it to us.
yes.
You bringing the.
But I don't want to give you too much.
But we have to give it all. That's what we're here for. We listen. We built to last, okay?
I know it.
We built
I know,
to
and
last.
I appreciate you all.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you so very much for just giving us the raw and the real. That's what's going to help us. Because to me, it's not a rocket science. It's just people like yourself.
Oh, listen, I don't want to interrupt, but let me tell you something. If black businesses, and we need black businesses,
yes,
I'm not jumping around, but if black businesses could mold themselves after King shoes up there on Superior and Euclid,
yes, sir.
and King's fashion,
Yes, sir.
they would understand the model. I don't know how much education Brother King has, but they would understand the model of common sense and how to stay in business for as long as they have. And look, Brother King is one of the few businesses, and I'm not tooting him, but Brother King is one of the few businesses who was able to establish himself in a shopping center.
Yes, sir.
And stay there. Most of there used to be plenty of black businesses on the main strip, but when they turned into shopping centers, blacks didn't know how to transcend into those shopping centers. All they knew was how to stay on the corner stores. So that ran a lot of J.T. Baylor's and all of those places, Beauty's Barber Supplies. They had all these places, but when the shopping mall came, for some reason, blacks weren't able to transcend into those shopping malls. I'll give you an example, Superior and Euclid.
Superior and Euclid.
Before Superior and Euclid Shopping Plaza came, a lot of those businesses there were black owned.
Now they're what?
They're anything but black. I would hate to guess, but I would be willing to bet that Brother King Ritz, that's why let me call it right, Ritz clothing store. I would be willing to bet that he's the only one up there. I could be wrong.
You think so, sir? Check back now.
No, he's the only one.
Yeah, you were saying.
And you know what makes it so remarkable? Because I bet you he's been there as long as SuperFly. I'll tell you about 30 years. Yes, I bet you Brother Ritt has been there for 30 years, right in that plaza.
Okay, but what you just said was just so phenomenal. But I remember being in the project, in the Proud Person Project, and going to Atlanta, and business is doing very well.
Yes.
So I understand East Cleveland is totally different because I don't think East Cleveland had that great foundation.
Yes.
Like Atlanta. Atlanta had history of money.
Yes.
Big money, and people were willing to move you forward.
Yes.
So East Cleveland never had that great foundation.
That's right.
They could have, but East Cleveland didn't have that foundation. So we can't compare the difference. But I'm saying it can be done, and I've seen it being done, that businesses is doing very well. So I just thank God that I had an opportunity to see both, being from business
That's
to
right.
business in Cleveland, 40% of the project, and going to Atlanta. Those people are serious about business.
Yeah.
But they have a good foundation. They had people there of color who had the business mind, not all education.
Yeah.
But had the business mind and would look for businesses like a King business to support and help grow.
Yes.
So they did more partnership. Would you agree or disagree?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Being a Southern boy myself, you know,
Yes,
I agree.
Sir. Yes, sir.
From North Carolina, surely.
Yes, sir. And with you being from the South and coming up north, you know the difference. Even being a young person, you know the difference in the people. It is a difference.
Oh, absolutely, there's
No
a difference.
question.
Yeah, absolutely, there's a difference.
And my other question is, how has, and this is a two-part question, how has race or racism impacted you personally? How has that race and racism impacted you?
I'll tell you how. And again, sometime because when I was growing up, I used to take on a theme of I think his name was Jimmy Dean. I was crazy back then. Said live fast, die young,
Yes,
and die with a handsome corpse.
Okay.
That's over your head, but for the old school, Jimmy Dean was a great actor, and that was one of his sayings. And I used to think that. I used to think that I would never, that live fast, die young, and die with a handsome corpse. But through God sparing me to live a little bit longer,
Yes,
and to have a pretty straight mind, not that great, but a pretty straight mind,
Okay.
and a little physical ability,
Okay.
He have showed me that. Remember that I was born down south,
Yes, sir.
and my mother taught us. I have a single mother now. She taught us. She said, "Now I'm gonna pretend you're pretty light skinned, but you're not white. But I'm gonna pretend you're white." My mother taught us, as very young, that when we see a white woman, do this. Don't look that woman straight in the face. You understand? And when you see a white man, you look down and say, "Yes, sir, no, sir." Okay? All right. Those were survival skills of the South, because if you didn't, you wound up like Emmett Till,
Yes,
you understand, looking up at a white woman because he was from a different, up north,
Okay.
and not knowing the survival skills, he wound up getting hung and lynched. That happened to many, many brothers and sisters down south, okay? So you asked me about racism, so that same little lesson
Yes, sir.
that I learned down south,
Yes, sir.
I brought it here.
Okay.
You understand? And so even right today, I might say yes, sir, no, sir, and not to the degree that my mother taught, but it was the fact that just because you were moving up north, racism was a different shape and form, but it was still racism. And the biggest racism I encounter up here is the judicial racism. What I mean by that is that racism. There are more people incarcerated. If any day you go down to the court system, you'll think it's a black world, because that's what you'll see in there. When you go before the judges, you'll see mainly white judges with black robes giving out whatever. And so what I'm trying to say is that even though I came from down south where they was hanging you,
Yes, sir.
you understand, you had to go to the back of the restroom, and you had to go to the back of the kitchen to eat, and Brother Rob here might and spit like that and then serve you your ice cream.
Right.
Coming up north, it was more subtle, but racism still exists, and it exists right today in the same way. But the judicial system is the main way that I have seen racism play out in my personal life.
Do you have a mentor?
Yes, Dr. Martin Luther King. You know how he became my mentor? I was over in Vietnam fighting jungle trees, big snakes and stuff, and I was with the big red 1, 1st Infantry Division.
Yes, sir.
I had no business with a M16 in my hand and a man in the moon. But I was there, okay? And so one day we're out in the field, and the Viet Cong is shooting at us. All right, and brothers were getting killed, okay? So I was able to survive, and we made it back to the base camp.
Okay.
And I'm in this base camp where it's a little bit more safer. and we had these little transistor radios. I know you don't know nothing about this, Brother King. These little transistor radios, and I was listening to them, and they was talking about back home. They said, Dr. Martin Luther King and the black people are back home, and they're getting bit by dogs, and for trying to get into the lunch counter, and they can't get in the restroom, and they just killed some of them. And I'm listening to this, and I said, wow, here I just almost got killed in a battle.
Right.
And my people back home is getting mistreated like this. You understand? I say, if I can give my life,
your life,
over in Southeast Asia in the jungle trees,
yes, sir,
then surely when I come back home, I want to join the movement and I want to fight for my people. Of course, it didn't transcend that easy when I came back. You understand? There was many distractions, but in the end, I was able to come back and do that. So that's who I. Yes, that's where I'm at.
Do you have a mentor in East Cleveland today?
Do I have a mentor in East Cleveland today?
Yes, sir.
I have. Yes. I have quite a few mentors, but I use quite a few people as my mentor. As a business mentor, I look up to Brother King, historical mentor. I look up to a brother named Alvin Brooks, and to mentor. So I have a lot of mentors that I look up to. I tell you what, I can even be mentored by. This is where I'm strange at. I can be mentored by the younger generation.
Yes, sir.
I can be mentored by because I believe that mentoring should be shared. I should be able to share my wisdom and mentor the young generation like Brother King and Brother Norton and those guys. And on the same token, they can mentor me.
Yes.
And if we could get this cohesiveness together, then we can see with their vigor and youth and my wisdom, I'll tell you what we could do. We could make East Cleveland like Atlanta.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You just spoke of how businesses, how black businesses were in Atlanta. We can start right here with this black business here, and we can make. There's no reason why every neighborhood has to be businesses all by others.
Yes, sir.
You say, who said that we can't cook, clean, have laundromat? Who says we just start small and grow right back up?
You're doing it every day anyway.
Yeah, we're doing it every day.
Every day. So that leads up to the next, the second part of the question is, how has race and racism impacted East Cleveland?
How has it impacted East Cleveland?
We talked about personally with you. Now we're saying, how has that impacted East Cleveland? How has race and racism
Okay,
impacted East Cleveland?
I can tell you. That's a good question. I can tell you, what I do is live by example and common sense.
Okay.
When I came here, East Cleveland was 65, maybe 70% white. There was a great influx of white. And everything was different, okay? The police department was different. They treated the community different. The judges treated community different. Economic development treated the community different. There was a difference. When the majority of the whites and other nationalities started moving out,
Okay.
and blacks began to take over and take the homes, racism began stick his evil hand in and pull away a lot of the benefits that the other nationalities had before us. When the blacks moved in, the racism had stuck its way in, whether it was through the school system, financially, the jail system. They just let it deplete, which is a subtle term of racism.
Okay, that's a subtle term.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
Okay.
And a blatant form of racism would be that when blacks moved in and the police force was still mainly white, the hell they cast on blacks at that time was another form of racism.
And that would lead to my second question is, how has inequality impacted you personally, and how has it impacted East Cleveland?
How's what?
Inequality impacted you.
Equality?
Inequality.
Inequality.
Correct.
Yes,
Impacted
yes,
you.
yes. How has it impacted
You
me?
personally and East Cleveland.
Okay.
It's a two-part question.
Okay, all right. Inequality, I won't let inequality affect me to the point that I will succumb to what I have to do. But as far as inequality, as far as my finances, and inequality as far as when I really wanted to have some property or something in East Cleveland,
Okay.
not now, but later on,
Yes, sir.
inequality really played a part in it. But being from down south and having been through all this, I have not let inequality affect me. It has slowed me down many times. It slowed me down.
Okay.
And it has hurt me financially. But at this point in time, I won't let nothing, inequality or nothing stop me. Now, as far as the city, inequality has played a great role in the demise of East Cleveland. When the black community came in, inequalities started happening, and you can see right today that inequality has devastated this city.
But it seemed like you're stronger now than before, you feel, because you mentioned you're not going to let it stop you or slow you down. In what perspective are you saying that, stopping you and slowing you down?
I'm saying that in my life,
Yes, sir.
it seems like, and I imagine that this happens with a lot of black men. I'm just gonna say black men at this time. We can be going strong. We can be accomplishing things. We can be moving forward and trying to do the right thing. And it seems like there's just something about equality that will take us from having 50,000 to having 20,000. Now, I don't know why.
You don't know why.
But it happens, and it happens over and over again. So I would have to say that that's inequality in my life.
Okay, but do you feel at this point in your life you are stronger because of wisdom, or you were stronger back in the day when you just did things, meaning that you were more hands-on, you just let things flow?
I was, that's a good question. I was probably stronger back in the day because I didn't really, because I really didn't, I didn't think of consequences, and I was more apt to take risks, and but I'm not sure if that's stronger or just braver when you think about it. But I'll put it this way.
Yes, sir.
I'll put it this way. This is the best way I can put it. I am older today than I was in my youth. All right? But today I still have the vigor of my youth as far as continuing to fight. So when you look at it in that sense, I'll say that I'm stronger today.
Sure. And Mr. McKoy, well, just speaking with you and you having the passion, you still have what it takes to fight. For sure, correct? You still have what it takes to fight.
Listen. I here's what I believe. I believe that God. Listen, if I was, if it was up to me,
Yes, sir.
I would be like, I'd have 2 Cadillacs and living up on the hill.
Okay.
If it was up to me,
Yeah.
really, I'm serious. Enjoying the good old American life. But it's not up to me. God, for some reason, put this passion in my heart to fight for our people. And it's a unthankful battle part God put me in, because many times you misunderstood and talked about and ridiculed and they just don't understand. But so it's a thankless position, but it's a position that God put in my heart, just like He put a position in your heart to record history. Because if you don't, and all this history get away, then we're not going to be like the Jews, remembering that history is the key. We're just going to be lost. So that's why.
Well, I'm not going to take the credit for it. It's Dr. Rhonda Y. Williams at Case West Missouri.
That's good.
She's the person that's the lead. I'm just taking a bit and piece to take the opportunity to go out in the community to interview. And I have a passion for having our history be told. And that's why I took the lead to be able to come out and ask people like yourself to put your narrative in a voice and an action project, because I believe in us knowing our history and not everybody else telling us what we need to do. So I can't say that I'm the brainchild behind it, but I am taking a part of the lead to getting people like yourself to tell, because this is just awesome to me to be right across and to interview you. This is really bringing it forefront to me and making sure my ideas that I think is real, because you can think of a lot of things just to see that it's real, and with my passion being from the projects to Atlanta and back to Cleveland and East Cleveland, because I remember when the same idea growing up, East Cleveland was Millionaire Row. You didn't come to East Cleveland.
Absolutely.
Nothing but straight. And how did it go down? That's what we're trying to get your input. And that will lead me up to my other question is, can you recall a memory, which this would be good for you, let me repeat it. Can you recall a memory or instant when the community fought for something?
Can I
recall, and this is passionate for you that you always fighting for something. Can you remember a incident or something that you state was the latest that you fought for? Because we know you always out there for the cause. What was your best memory that you fought for?
Well, I could give you a lot of memories, but let me say this first of all, is that when you do this history piece that you're doing,
yes, sir.
It is very important because Minister Farrakhan once said, and many people think that I'm a Muslim because of my gear, but I'm not. I'm a Christian. But Minister Farrakhan once said that 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 he could travel all around the world and be treated like royalty, like kings. But when he came to his own hometown, he was treated like a pauper. You know, when I reflect on myself in East Cleveland, sometimes I feel like that that I can go all across the country and be treated like a king, but sometimes when I come to East Cleveland, I'm treated just the opposite. And but that doesn't stop anything. That's why it's good that you're doing the history of people. But now to the question that you asked, listen, I could take this a lot of directions. You know, I could take this recently, Cleveland Clinic, post office, library. I could take it all those places. But my deepest fight, being a member of black on black crime, is in the trenches, during the heart of the drug epidemic, during the crack epidemic, being on Page and Wymore. Page and Wymore in the 80s and the 90s was like in the West, Tombstone territory. It was like hell. It was like the drug war trenches. And I was right in the middle of that. SuperFly Barbershop was right in the middle of that. And I'm talking about gangs, Fellows World, Hot Sauce Boys. It was just a mess. Money was flowing like water to these young boys, and the killings were flowing like blood. And I'm right in the middle of this, black on black crime, and I was able to hold that guard. Yes, sir. You understand? Many times, at this time, the police department was depleted. And you might call the police. They might not come for 2 hours, 3 hours later. So I'm in the trench of this war zone, and I'm able to maintain my standards and black on black, and try to run the drug boys away, or at least set a standard for them, and keep some kind of stabilization to that neighborhood. Yes, sir. And I was able to do this until help arrived. Okay. I can remember days that where the barbershop was, and that strip, the drug boys would just be out there selling drugs right in front, and the ladies and children passed by, and I would take my bullhorn and go out there and say, "Drug dealers, get off the block, get off the block. Police, come on, drug dealers." You understand? I put my whole life and limb in limbo to fight for this cause for over 10 years. Yes, sir. And I was able to hold the line until the police department was able to come up, and things would be able to take better control. Okay. And so this is one of my fondest memories of this neighborhood, because I remember when the crack epidemic first hit this neighborhood. This is history right here. One year, there was young guys on the street. Okay. And then they began to get these pretty trucks and all that, and it wasn't a whole lot of violence. And then the very next year, now this 1 year later. 1 year later. I stepped on the sidewalk in the spring, and all those guys that had been out there, they were gone. They were gone. completely gone, jail, dead, whatever. And there was another set that was out there, and this was I witnessed the first pattern of a wave that was transcending. So after this pattern, at the next year, another wave was gone. They were gone, completely gone, wherever they were. Then the next year, another wave was there, and another wave, and another wave. So I was able to maintain like a fort in the heart of this, okay, in the heart of this savagery until help arrive. That's deeper causes there. That's deep stuff. Now, of course, you can talk about the protesters at the Cleveland Clinic, how we were able to all join together as a community, which was great. You understand, the young, the old, the mayor, everybody, we were able to join together and make some concessions out of Cleveland Clinic, which they'd have never did if we hadn't kept putting the pressure on in the cold of the winter. You understand, we standing out in front of Cleveland Clinic protesting, and they didn't like this pressure that was putting on, so they came to the table. The same thing could be said true before that at Shaw High School. This is my last, because I don't believe in I believe that your work speaks for itself. So I don't really like to get into the work I've done. Okay. I believe that the work will speak for you. If people don't remember, they don't remember. If they do, they know what they done. But Shaw High School, yes, when they were just beginning to build Shaw High School, Kirk, and tear down Kirk, and build these four different new schools, or three, how many it was. Okay. Shaw was the first one to be built. And the board at that time had allocated for all these non-black workers to come in from everywhere, mm-hmm, and get this millions and millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And I remember that it was a blizzard outside. Yes. I mean, you couldn't hardly see the snow. Couldn't even see your face. We had set up about 50 people out in front of Shaw High School, had barn fires set up, and when those independent excavator people came in from Pittsburgh or wherever, yes, when they drove them trucks up, they saw all us out there blocking the line and said, hey, y'all can't come here until you bring some blacks in. Yes. They turned around and went back. And we were able to hold that line for about a week, and by that time, the police department and everything got involved. But it was the first line of defense, and we were able to get some jobs and to touch the consciousness to get some black contractors, some haulers and stuff to be on that job. So it did work. It did what the results were. It worked, but it could have worked better. Okay. You understand? Nothing is perfect, but it did work. Okay. And like you mentioned too, just to piggyback on a couple of other feedbacks that you gave me. You actually had Cleveland Clinic to listen to you when the pressure of the people came on there. Absolutely. That was something that you was pleased with? Yeah, absolutely. You were pleased with that? We were pleased. Listen, in a battle, especially in the struggle we're in, you're never going to be completely pleased, okay? Because the struggle is too hard. Once in a while you get completely pleased. Okay. But in this case, no, we weren't completely pleased because we didn't want the hospital to go. We didn't want Huron Road to go. We needed that hospital, and we still need it. Okay. Don't get me wrong, we weren't pleased. Okay. But either we be pleased that the city was able to get something, or we be pleased and keep the pressure on and get nothing. So we were pleased that they did give us something. Okay. But we weren't pleased that they left, okay? Correct. But with the land being empty now, is there some type of development to your knowledge to do something with that land? That's where the political people have to come in and tell you. I can't tell you that. It's a nice piece of land, but we needed a hospital there. Okay. We needed a hospital there. Definitely. And when you mentioned that you had a weak protest at Shaw High School for more African Americans or people of color to come in to
get some of the money and do the work. Were you pleased at that in that case?
Yes, we were pleased, but not completely pleased because, again, if we hadn't did anything, we wouldn't have got nothing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But and this protest went on for about a month in the cold.
Okay.
But if we hadn't been if we hadn't did it, we wouldn't have got nothing.
Yes, sir.
But because we did it, we got the black contractors and black workers and some East Cleveland workers. They got jobs.
Okay.
So it did work. But you know, one thing surprised me about that protest was that when we got a chance to go to the table and listen to the contractors that was doing the job, you know what they said? They said, listen, we can't advocate for you all. You have to advocate for yourself. So in other words, they said, we weren't going to do nothing if y'all didn't come up and advocate for yourself, that we weren't going to do nothing. So they say, we weren't going to advocate for you. If you don't advocate for yourself, you're going to get what you get. So that's why that was a lesson learned there. I said, wow, all the board at that time, they're all gone now, but all the board, all they had to do was advocate for us. If you don't ask for nothing, you ain't going to get nothing, right, Mr. King? So that was a real strong lesson learned there.
Out of all the protesting and all the fighting for people's rights, that was something that was a shock to you to hear that, or you never heard it that way?
I couldn't believe that in a black community that we had, and with a school board and the way it was set up, that no one had advocated for us.
Okay. Let me lead on to the next question. How have the surrounding institutions and cities impacted East Cleveland?
I will answer that like this. When you say the surrounding institutions, you mean like, give me an example. Case Western Reserve?
We have Case, we have Cleveland Clinic, we have the University Circle, just to name a few.
Oh, okay, all right. My impression up until recently was that they didn't, since it became a 99% black community, they didn't really impact us in a positive way. They impacted us in a positive way that they were on our borders, but they didn't impact us in a positive way as to help the people, study the people, find out how they could bring finances to the people. They didn't help us in a positive way. But recently, I see where they are beginning to try to make a positive effort into helping the city of East Cleveland. But I haven't seen that for a while.
What about, just to name a few, you have Euclid, that's a surrounding area, you have Cleveland Heights, that's a surrounding area, you have Cleveland going underneath the bridge. How have those cities impacted East Cleveland?
Well, negatively, if we want to deal with history, when during the right after the Huff riots,
Okay.
When they was beginning to change Huff around, a lot of the people migrated from the Huff area into the Page, Wymo area, and they became and they were they were on what do you call it? They were on fixed housing. It's not the word I'm trying to use, but
You mean it's Section 8?
yeah. Listen.
Subsidized housing.
Subsidized housing. Listen, a lot of you know how Page and Wymore and Northfield, you know how those streets got the way they were? Because those were stable neighborhoods until the people from that area came in to that stable area with subsidized housing, and that area there just folded all the way down. Because I'm not saying it was bad, but I'm saying that they came in without a plan.
So you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, with the subsidized housing situation, the people came from outside to East Cleveland.
Yes, they came.
And that area was a stable area.
It was a stable area. It was a stable area with a great business district at that time.
Okay. How is it now?
It's a mess. There's no businesses much. It's a mess. It's like a war zone up in there. I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying that subsidized housing is bad.
Right.
I'm saying that subsidized housing without a plan, subsidized housing becoming a dumping ground without a plan is devastating, and that's what happened. I'm not saying subsidized housing is bad.
Right.
You know, I'm saying that I witnessed, we're talking about history, I witnessed the stabilization of that neighborhood become, through subsidized housing without a plan, completely destroying it, and the economic base. Now, positively, again, when I'm going to give you a recent example, and I couldn't understand this. When the corridor came, the health line corridor came down Euclid. When it first came down Euclid, and it was so beautiful and everything was building up, where did it stop at? It stopped right at the base of East Cleveland. All right, at the bridge it stopped. All from that point on, there was just a couple bus shelters, and then they built fixed up the RTA station. But in between there was nothing. Right. So you're asking about how communities impact. Right. So at that time, that Euclid corridor, University Circle area, it stopped. It didn't impact. East Cleveland was like left out, blighted. But recently, I see where that college, Case Western Reserve, University Hospital, all of that have changed, have came in with a different mind frame, and is trying to help the people in East Cleveland. So I see a difference in mind frame. I didn't see that before.
You didn't see that before. And that when you seen it was when? Just recently?
Recently, in the last few years, yes.
Okay. And that would lead me to my other question is, what is your vision for a future East Cleveland? What does Mr. Art McKoy wants to see for future East Cleveland?
Well, first of all, for future East Cleveland, it goes right back to my beginning, which is black on black crime and crime in general, okay? In order for a community to prosper, it must be safe. It must be safe. That's number one, okay? If you bring in, if it's safe, then the school system will get better. It'll get better economically. The businesses will get better. The homes will get better. The neighborhood will get better. That's number one. Okay. All right? Yes. My vision is a safe community. You understand? You can be poor, but if you be safe, you got a chance, all right? That's my number one vision. Okay. My second vision, which is just as great, is by being in business all my life, I would like to see East Cleveland become a mecca of black businesses, black-owned businesses that could survive right along with the other businesses. I'm not knocking the businesses that whatever nationality are. This is the American way, and that's fine. But I would like to see an influx of black businesses to sprout up around East Cleveland to be able to hold their own. and whether this comes from some financial aid or education on how to run a business, or the belief that they can run a business. I would like to see East Cleveland a little Atlanta.
And it can be done.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
You would like to see that. And the second part to the question is, tell me about a major issue that need addressing in order to better your neighborhood, your community, and your city. Tell me about a major issue that needs to be addressed.
A major issue? Oh, there's so many, but I'll give you one.
Okay.
I noticed that in our city, first we had a very bad abandoned housing thing, vandal housing. We were able to kind of get that under control, and vacant properties. But I see an underlying problem that is kind of being overlooked, that if we overlook it, we could secure what we're doing now. Okay. And that is, since we have targeted and worked on getting rid of abandoned houses and etc., okay, there's an underlying problem in which the city could really hold the line on. Yes. If see, there's a lot of homeowners in East Cleveland that are right at the brink, okay, of falling down or standing up. Okay. What I mean by this is this. Like, I don't know you personally. I don't know where you live. Say if you're a homeowner. Yes, you might be a fine lady, and you might have and you might be a senior citizen, and you might be right at the point where you want to keep your house, but you might be getting a little behind, or something might be happening. Here's what I see happening. I'm going to give you an example. Yes, sir. I'm going to give you an example. This lady that lives down the street from me, okay, all right, she's a member of the Word Church, and good lady, goes there, help them food and everything. But I don't think they really knew the plight that she was almost about ready to lose her home. Okay. And it was just about maybe a couple payments, you know, yes, behind in the mortgage. So what I'm saying is this. I'm not making myself very clear, but what I'm saying is this. I'm saying that what we need to do is maintain the stock of homes we got right now. In other words, if I know that, I say, well, Miss Johnson been over there 30 years, but I think she's struggling now. I think she's maybe getting a little behind in her house note. There need to be some agency or somebody to say, Miss Johnson, what's going on here? Are you all right? What do we need to do to stabilize your house? What happens is we wait till Miss Johnson's house, and all of a sudden Miss Johnson move out, and we say, what happened? We need and that becomes another empty house. We need to be able to there has to be a mechanism. Maybe the college could do it. There may be a mechanism to figure out when a person is getting down on their luck, or because some people lose their house because of a couple payments, you know, and just somebody. What I'm trying to say is to maintain the stock of houses that we have today before we look up and there's 5, 10, 20 more that's gone.
Well, let me just say a point of view, and maybe that will help you to see if this. And I'm thinking what you're seeking to say. If we had a community group or community neighborhood, and the person is losing their home, they should be able to come to the community and say, I can't pay the next couple of months. And we should have an agency in line to help the person pay the next couple of months, or I've been paying all these years,
Yes.
and I can't pay my taxes for whatever the reason
Yes.
may be. Is that what you're
Yes.
trying to say?
Yes. Yes.
I think that either they should be able to come to the community and ask for help, or either whoever owns that property should tell them, ABC they're behind on their rent. What are you planning on doing to let somebody else pick up on it? Because you don't never know what your neighbors can do for you if you open your mouth.
Right. Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
we should have a pool of money to help these people. You can't just put a person out because they've been paying for 35 years.
And that's what happened with this lady. And I'm sure that if the right people had known
Right.
that her house could have been saved, but now her house is just sitting there empty. And pretty soon, I'm sure that the vandals will get in there, and before we know it, it's another. And so that's how we keep accumulating this. So if we could just stop the bleeding, then we could stabilize the neighborhood.
Correct. And am I on the right track of what you were seeking?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And like
I didn't say it in the best manner, but yes, but you're right.
Right. But that's what we're here to help each other for.
Yes.
Right. To see, and like you mentioned too, you mentioned the college can pick that up. The bank they should be able to bring it to us. They know when the person is getting ready to.
We need to know.
We need to know this.
We need to
so
know.
So that means that, and that was the question, can the community be better? The banks know before we know.
Yes.
Maybe the person don't have pride because you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Pride in
I
that.
think this lady, it was her pride.
Pride. Or
I
maybe
think it
she
was her.
don't know, or maybe she didn't want nobody to know. But it can't be pride if you've been paying for 30 years.
Right.
We'd rather help you than it be an eyesore.
Right.
The property.
Right.
And then this is a closing question, and then we have some other comments between my colleague and I. What would you be prepared to do to make East Cleveland better? What would you be prepared to do to make East Cleveland better?
What I would be prepared to do?
Yes.
That's a very interesting question, because with me, I have went beyond the call of duty to make East Cleveland better. And when I say beyond the call of duty, that means risking life and limb. So it's harder for me to say that I could do any more. What I could do is that I would be willing to share my wisdom and knowledge as a longtime East Cleveland resident with anyone without any hesitation, and to help East Cleveland any way I can.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to let you know, and I have two closing questions. My closing question for you: you willing to give back what you know may work for the future generation? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And my other question is, I would like to see an academy in East Cleveland for people like yourself with your wisdom and knowledge and business minded. And as you mentioned, as we know and as you mentioned, without business, we have nothing. We can have all the programs in the world talking about it, but until we actually put your feet to the fire and have these businesses implemented, like back in the day, we had all these businesses, and the ball was not carried on. Someone needed to carry on the ball. For some reason, the ball was dropped. And I think the academy, like yourself and other people that willing to help and pass it along to build it back up. So if you had it once, you can get it again.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to switch gears and have Mr. Brandon King to ask his closing questions, and then I can follow up.
I actually don't have any closing questions. The shoe store store and clothing store started in 1975 by Leslie King, was my uncle, and currently he is the only African American business in that shopping center, and there's no other African American business in the shopping center across the street either. So, yeah, it's interesting you brought that up. But he's been there for a while. He's had his trials and tribulations.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I definitely concur with all the things you said about that.
Yes. Yes. Good. I'm so glad you don't have any questions, because this lady here has done absolutely tried to wear me out.
My question, until you got it, was the greatest accomplishment of black on black crime, and you covered it. That was my question.
Okay. All right. All right.
And I thought that was really good.
All right. Good. Good. Okay. Good.
Well, Mr. McKoy, this has really been a great joy to interview you. It's just so awesome to interview you. I know that you're on the radio, and I've been listening to you for a long, long time, and I call in from time to time. I've been gone for the city for at least 30 years, and coming back and listening to you brought me up to date. And I bring back a different perspective of being in Atlanta with around a lot of black people, because that's all I know is black business. From
Yes.
up from
Yes.
40% in the project
Yes.
to being in Atlanta, where there was a mega black businesses, and me being a part of black businesses, started my son at 13 years old.
Yes.
Business. So that's all I know.
Yes.
That's all I know is business.
Yes.
So with you being on the radio and me listening to you and others, I respect you. I really respect you. I respect anybody who in business, because it's not going to be easy by no stretch of imagination. But it can be done. That's how we as black people got strength, is from our black businesses.
That's right.
From the family owned to the businesses, and we get the chance to know each other and exchange business and knowledge. And if we saw you slipping, we helped you out. And it's not a isolated rocket science to understand this. It's pocket science to me. If I see things need to be done, and I have a wisdom, because I'm in the position to understand and know the difference, and I'm in marketing, if I can see some things that needs to be done, I'm going to say it, and I do it every day, all day, because it's not costing me anything. It's actually helping me and helping the community if I see some things. So I just want to say simply say thank you personally, just for being on the forefront and fighting for us. And your name is definitely power. When I said, I'm interviewing Mr. Art McKoy. You interviewing Mr. Art McKoy? I said, yes, he can be reached, and he does return my call. So you responded in a timely manner, and we kept it moving until this day. So I'm just so floored just to be able to be in the same room with you.
Hey, Joy, you are a very persistent lady, and so therefore I think that Rhonda and the college and everybody else, they've chosen the right one, because you won't take no for an answer. And also, so congratulations to you, because we need you to record this history. Now, I will, that is my goal in the latter part of my career, is to rally black businesses together. That is my ultimate goal that I'm working on right now. As a matter of fact, my radio show that will be coming up in August, it will be all about rallying black businesses, advertising black businesses, pulling them together, networking them together in a way that in this town that hasn't been done before, and tying history into it and bringing it right up to speed. So that is my ultimate goal. My show, by the way, in closing, my show, by the way, will be called Art McKoy University, the show, because Joy, I understand that you might have your associate, bachelor's, or master's degree. You might even have your doctor, PhD, or DDT. But
Yes, sir.
you have not been to school until you came to the Art McKoy's University show. Because I will get your medulla to thinking, and it's all about the show. I repeat that the show is called the Art McKoy's University because my daddy told me, he said, Arthur Lewis, he used to call me Arthur Lewis. He said, Arthur Lewis, I want you to get all the education you can.
Yes, sir.
But in the end, there's nothing like common sense because there's no fool like an educated fool. So tune in to my program, Art McKoy's University. I don't care if you've been to Case or whatever college you've been to. CSU, you haven't been to school and you haven't had all your degrees until you come to the Art McKoy's University. Thank you so much.
We want to thank you so very much, Mr. Art McKoy. That was a powerful close, and we're just going to...
Before you close, let me ask you one question, because I was just thinking about this. Coming through East Cleveland my whole life, you come through the 80s and then into the 90s, and you've always been black on black crime. Now, I remember gangs growing up, and then they changed. Can you talk a little bit about that? Do you remember the DDs, the Brick City Outlaws, the In-Laws, some of those gangs?
Yes.
And then you go into the 90s gangs.
Yes.
Totally different gangs.
Absolutely. A whole different gangs and a whole different gangs and a whole different set of rules and a whole different set of standards and morals, low down. So yes, I definitely can. But I'll tell you something, Brother King. You bring up a very interesting point, and you want to make me go very deep, because I'll tell you something, Brother King, and this is where myself and a lot of activists disagree at, but they know I'm telling the truth. In Cleveland today, I don't really believe in gangs, and if it had been up to me over 20 years ago, we'd have stopped saying gangs. I'll tell you why. Because I've been to New York, Chicago, LA, those places. They have real gangs, all right? All right, but in Cleveland, not counting the gangs that you're talking about, but in Cleveland for a long time, we haven't really had gangs. What we have is a system that promote gangs. Because if you keep saying the gangs are coming, then they'll come. The same way you say the drugs are coming, they'll come, all right? So I said a long time ago, hey man, y'all stop saying the gangs, because all that's gonna do is increase the gangs. That's gonna increase the young guys that start saying the word gang. And here's what happens, Brother King. The reason I don't like that word gang is because a gang will scare a neighborhood to death. In other words, if me and you coming down the street, King, and I know this for a fact, me and you coming down that street right there, and this Sister Joy say, there's a bunch of thugs coming, Art and King. You know what we do? We put our chest up like this. We say, man, we ain't scared of no hoodlum, and we keep on stepping. But if Sister Joy said, Brother King, Art, the gangs are coming, you go that way, and I'd go that way. Just the word gang would scare us out of they're nothing but hoodlums, but by putting that word gang on them, you're going to go in your building, and I'm going to go around the corner. You understand? That's the name the gang fear. So here's what happened. So by them saying gang, what it did to the neighborhood, the people that would normally come out of their house and say, man, I ain't scared of them hoodlums. All of a sudden, they start saying gangs. People went in their house, shut their window, closed their curtains, and said, I ain't bothered with the gang. And that way, the hoodlums took over the neighborhood. Nothing but hoodlums. But by the influence of the word gang, it scared the neighborhood, and the hoodlums were able to take over the neighborhood. That's why that's why I'm against that word gang. But as a whole, we can't call those that are gangs, but basically what we're calling gangs ain't nothing but a bunch of hoodlums that we could deal with.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Well, I'm just so excited that once again with your passion that you have expressed to us. We want to take the opportunity once again to say thank you for you pouring your heart out to us and giving us such a wonderful interview. I would love for you to have us to possibility to do a part 2 on you, to come back after you had your show for a while, 3 to 6 months, if you don't mind us coming back and just seeing how it's going, and if we can be a part of it and help out, and we'll be more than happy to. So we just want to close it at this point to say much success, all the best, and much success in your radio station here in the
Hey,
Cleveland area.
thank Brother King. Thanks, Joy. I appreciate you. Tell Rhonda and them hello, okay?
Thank you so very much.